You guys, we need to talk about this Star Wars The Old Republic trailer that just came out. I'm kind of losing my mind right now, and I'm about to jump into some crazy spoilers. So for those of you who just started playing the game, stop watching right now. We're talking about a trailer that just came out that has spoilers about all of the entire story of the game, so you'd want to be all the way caught up. And, very important, there's some big spoilers from the Imperial Agent story and the ramifications of that story on the future of the entire game. Holy cow! So this Star Wars The Old Republic trailer was introduced at Star Wars Celebration 2025. This is a convention focused on Star Wars in general, so they had gotten a featurette video space on the main stage screen for the convention. So it started off with just a fun little overview of some cool scenes from the game in the past, a nice message from one of the developers who focuses on the visual narrative of the story, and then those crazy developers, without any warning, just suddenly dropped a new trailer about the future of the story of the game that none of us knew was coming. And this is incredibly important because many players have been asking, where is the new story for the game? Why haven't we seen story in a while, especially the last two updates, which would have normally focused on story? At this moment in time, we are currently in the middle of a quite long, ongoing voice actors strike for video games by SAG-AFTRA, the Voice Actors Union. So we probably won't see any new story in the game until that's resolved, because so many of us really love having voice actors as part of our story. So for the developers to drop a story trailer is absolutely unhinged, and not to mention, because Japan is where the celebration is taking place, it's on the other side of the world. It was set some random time in the middle of the evening. And by the time I noticed it was up and I watched it the first time, I didn't even realize that it was new footage. I thought it was just a bunch of rehashed stuff going over what the last story was. So quick recap, if you don't really remember what happened in the story so far when it comes to the latest expansion, Legacy of the Sith. Darth Malgus is alive, though we have him captured in a prison. A new faction of Mandalorians has cropped up who's kind of against both the Republic and the Empire, and the existing Mandalorian faction. There's a new character named Sahar, who's a Jedi Padawan who's found a mysterious artifact that we don't know quite what it does. And, oh yeah, Shae Vizsla breaks Darth Malgus out of prison, and we really don't know what his plans are at all. We just know that he wants that artifact. To what purpose, we're not entirely sure. So this new trailer starts off with Darth Malgus back in prison. I'm assuming it's a bit of a flashback, and that's where I got totally thrown off thinking that it was actually just old footage from the game. But then, wait a second, we see this player character, just one they made up for the trailer, standing in front of a cold, frozen throne. And oh my god, there's this beautiful little transition scene of the original version of that throne into an icy one. And this is Darth Malgus's space station. And this is where things get kind of complicated, and I'm such a nerd about it. I'm so sorry, I could talk about it for ages. I love Revan lore and Starforge lore and Old Republic lore, and this is actually a big part of it. So if you've played Knights of the Old Republic, one of the main plot points is the Starforge. There's even literally a server named after it in our favorite game, Star Wars The Old Republic. The Starforge is a space station that's thousands of years old and can basically take matter and recreate it into something else. In the Starforge's case, ships. The Foundry is the second space station like that, Starforge type matter recreator, and you get to visit that one in a flashpoint in Star Wars The Old Republic on the Imperial side only of the same name, the Foundry flashpoint. The Foundry is known for creating an endless army of droids commanded by the Foundry's master, whoever that is at the time. When it's up in space, it takes asteroids and turns them into droids. At the end of the flashpoint, you're basically the hero of the Empire. You stop the current master, and you can actually hand it over to the Empire, where they say that their teams are going over the Foundry, and it'll take some work, but everything should be salvageable. Later on in the story, that's part of the original story from when the game was first released in 2011, on the planet of Ilum, we learn that Darth Malgus had the technology incorporated from the ancient Foundry into the Emperor's captured space station from the Jedi Knight story. This new combined space station doesn't really have a name. It used to be the Emperor's Fortress. We often just call it Darth Malgus' space station. You get to head there at the end of the vanilla base story of the game, and basically you overload the foundry generators, and there's going to be explosions, and the whole thing falls out of the sky onto the planet of Ilum. Regardless of what faction you wind up playing on, your faction, Reclamation Services for Imperial side, goes and salvages the wreckage of the foundry and the Emperor's space station, combined into Darth Malgus' space station, crash-landed onto Ilum. Bits and pieces of this self-replicating technology actually gets yoinked by a third-party faction called the Revenites, and is used to create some immortal cyborg self-healing enemies. But that's about where that story ended. The wreckage is just sitting there in Ilum. We never even got to see it until in update 7.6 we got a refresh of the Ilum graphics and a new single boss operation called Propagator Core XR53, where you could go inside of the ruins of that space station and you'll fight a self-replicating droid that was part of the Emperor's Fortress that crashed down during the Battle of Ilum. It's a bit of a fun and crazy fight where that droid specifically tries to reorganize your own biological matter into droids. AKA he eats you and spits you out. He wants just a taste. And now, after all that obsessing about the Starforge lore and self-replicating stuff, we find ourselves in this trailer in front of the crashed wreckage of Darth Malgus' space station, including his throne, with broken windows and ice and snow flowing into it. What are we doing here? We know Darth Malgus is on the loose. Are we here looking for clues? Are we here chasing Malgus? Are we here looking for information? I have no idea what we're doing here, but I really like the way it looks. We see a little bit more of characters that we already recognize, and then, oh my freaking goodness, it's Darth Jadis. Darth Jadis is a major character from the Imperial Agent story. I've talked about it before, but my favorite story is the Imperial Agent story just because you have the most player agency and differences in the story depending on what you decide to choose at different turning points during the story. Darth Jadis, and whether you ally yourself with him or what choices you make with him during his final execution of his plans, are incredibly cool and incredibly important to the story. One of the really important things I wanted to confirm after seeing Darth Jadis and throwing an absolute little meltdown about it in the trailer was to go back and find out if any of those decisions could lead to his death, because I'd heard some players say, hey, but I killed Darth Jadis, how could he be alive? As far as I can tell, because when I played the original Imperial Agent story, apparently I went full obsessive and wrote down paragraphs and paragraphs about all of the things that happened and the potential choices that you might have been able to see from other videos that I'd watched of people's playthroughs. Regardless of what choices you made, Darth Jadis is more than likely alive. He either escapes, you make a deal with him and he flees, or you wind up allying with him. Even if you wind up allying with him, he says that he needs to leave as he's become aware of the Emperor's plans, which we've learned more about in the Shadow of Revan story, and wants to remove himself from the playing field, which was honestly probably a smart choice. One way or the other, Darth Jadis' return to the story was something that could always happen, unlike a lot of other characters which live in weird kind of nebulous stages of alive and unalive, where some characters and players may have killed them, some characters and players may have left them alive. Either way, the story wouldn't work if they're dead. Jadis was never dead. Speaking of which, I'd love you to watch this short little clip of me theorizing during a very special stream where I was celebrating my birthday. And this would probably be one of my earliest live streams, where I basically put on a tinfoil hat, literally, and predicted that Darth Jadis would eventually come back. I was mostly joking about it, but I definitely would be excited to see it. So next, tinfoil hat theory, Darth Jadis returns. So we talked about this a little earlier. I don't think it's very plausible, but if we're going full tin hat, we gotta get Darth Jadis back in here. Can you imagine if he just showed up with some crazy armada and took over the Dark Council? The Jedi are so screwed. That would be amazing. We can just delete the Mandalorian storyline and do Darth Jadis instead. It's fine. The rest of the trailer is some clips from previous events that happened. What looks like Darth Malgus continuing to escape from prison with Shae Vizsla. That mysterious device that I think can find Force users? Not entirely sure. And oh, what's that you say? Is that a Rakatan mind prison that we get to play with in Star Wars The Old Republic and Knights of the Old Republic? That captures you and makes you solve riddles? Oh my goodness. We have no idea what's going on there either. Big questions. Is that something we're going to be trapped in? Something we're trying to trap Malgus in? Something that someone else is trapped in that we're going to go visit? No idea. All we know is that we're excited about the new story whenever it does come out. Like I said earlier, unfortunately there is still a voice actor strike ongoing, so we probably won't be able to even start to see this story continuing until that is resolved. But in the meantime, I hope you enjoy playing, replaying, or re-catching up with the different stories in Star Wars The Old Republic, or checking out some of the other content the game has to offer. Right now I'm working on a crazy task where I'm trying to collect every weapon in the game for the website Swtorista.com, as well as replaying the smuggler's story, the story least related to all of this insanity. See you guys later, and may the Force be with you. Oh my god, this is supposed to be like a 3-minute video. I get way too excited about this stuff.
Our paths are not destined. They are forged. Shaped by ambition and fear. The desire for power. The need for control. The price of obedience. We allowed corrupt doctrines to dictate the paths before us. No longer. A change is coming to the galaxy, forged from pain and rage and sacrifice. My chains are broken, and now